Hi Shadowhunters! Today I'm going to be doing a crackpot theory for Clockwork Princess, the third and concluding novel to the Infernal Devices trilogy. So if you guys don't know what Clockwork Princess is, it's the third concluding book in the Infernal Devices trilogy, which is the prequel to the Mortal Instruments series. Story, there's Will Herondale, Jem Carstairs, and Tessa Gray. They're in a love triangle, and in the previous book, Jem and Tessa are planning to get married. Just to warn you guys, there's going to be spoilers in this, so if you haven't read the books, I very much recommend them, and leave right now. Bye. Okay, for those of you who have read them, here's my crackpot theories. Okay, so for my first scenario. So you all know Henry Branwell, who's married to Charlotte Branwell. But Charlotte, she was a Fairchild before she was married to Henry. So you think to yourself, how does Clary and Jocelyn have red hair when Charlotte doesn't? Well, that's because Henry has red hair. But how does a Fairchild name get passed down to Charlotte's child, and Charlotte's child to, like, the rest of the descendants? I love you, Henry, but I think you're gonna die, to put it slightly. I think this is because, Henry, you're a Branwell, but Charlotte's a Fairchild, and she changed her name for you when you got married. So, Henry, I think he's going to die because then Charlotte will change her back to her maiden name, Fairchild, and her descendant will be a boy, her child will be a boy with really red hair, and he can pass down the Fairchild name to all the descendants and then to Jocelyn, to Clary, and that's why they all have the red hair. You know, it's a sad theory, but Cassandra doesn't really mind killing off characters as we know from the past, but at least it's not going to hurt as much as it would if it was the trio of Will, Jem, and Tessa. Okay, so this is my second crackpot theory. So if you guys don't know this already, the Clockwork Princess first chapter was released last week to us, and in the chapter, which is on Shadowhunters.com, it says that when Will and Cecily were fighting in the training room, they got called downstairs because Gabriel is there covered in his servant's blood, because they were murdered, slaughtered more like, by his father who has demon pox and turned into this worm creature. When Cecily comes down, Gabriel's sort of awestruck by her beauty, and this leads me to believe that they're going to get together and get married and have a child, and then that will turn Cecily into a Lightwood, and she would pass her black hair, blue eyes gene to Alec in the future. So that's my second crackpot theory. So everybody knows about the love triangle between Jem, Will, and Tessa. What we know now is that Jem and Tessa are planned to get married, and in the first chapter, as we saw on Shadowhunters.com, that Tessa's getting her golden wedding gown fitted, and it's all like so emotional. I was really happy when I saw it. I was smiling like an idiot. But this is sort of confusing because Will is still in love with Tessa, but he's sort of ignoring her. Jem is in love with Tessa, Tessa loves Jem, and Jem's bound to die because his drug addiction makes him much weaker, and that's why he has silver hair, silver eyes, and it's not his fault because he got drugged by a demon for revenge. No, Tessa is barren, she cannot have children, and there is a sort of like a weird set to this because how will the Carstairs line be passed on, because Jem is technically an orphan. He doesn't have any more family around that we know of. And there's no coincidences in Cassandra's books. Like, everything connects somehow. So if you guys don't know this already, The Dark Artifices is the third Shadowhunters Chronicle by Cassandra Clare. It's due to come out in 2015. The main characters are Julian Blackthorn and Emma Carstairs. So the Carstairs line has to be passed down somehow. What we don't know is who will pass it down. Jem. He's supposed to be getting married to Tessa, but how will the Carstairs line be passed down if she is barren? This leads me to believe that is Tessa actually barren, or maybe it's sort of just a misunderstanding. So as we know, there's a love triangle between Jem, Tessa, and Will. So Will confessed his love for Tessa right after Jem proposed to Tessa, and Tessa said yes. So that was probably one of my most breaking points of the book because I was so sad. It was just horrible I felt so bad for Will because Will just confessed his love and he just figured out that he didn't have a curse on him. And it sort of just backfired on him. Tessa, she's barren, as so we've heard from the previous books, that she's a warlock, or she's somewhat a warlock. She's not a full warlock. We think that she might be part fairy, part Shadowhunter. We're not sure yet. We're hopefully going to find that out in Clockwork Princess. There's a Gem. Gem, he's dying because he has a drug addiction. And he's, like, it's a very sad sort of topic in the book, how he's just this great guy, but he's dying. And what I think is that Gem's going to live, because if you haven't heard, Cassandra Clare is making a new Shadowhunters Chronicles called The Dark Artifices, and the main character, Emma Carstairs. And from what we know, Gem, he's an orphan. He's orphaned. He doesn't have any relatives or anything that could pass down the Shadowhunter gene or the Shadowhunter name besides him. So this leads me to believe that either Tessa, she's not barren, or he doesn't end up with Tessa in the end, because the Carstairs line has to go on somehow. Then there's this whole type of conflict between the Silent Brothers and how people think that Gem is Brother Jeremiah and Will is Brother Zachariah, because Brother Jeremiah, as we know, he has a sort of sweet smell to him, and that's sort of like the drug that Gem takes. It has a sweet smell to it. I'm sort of less convinced about the Brother Jeremiah part for Gem as I am for the Brother Zachariah part for Will. What leads me to conclude that Will is a silent brother is because I think Will, he didn't want to live without Tessa, and Tessa, she's immortal, or so we see, because in City of Glass we see Magnus talking to a woman in a white dress, and we think that's Tessa. So another way that Will will become a silent brother is because if Will would do anything to save Gem from death, he would even give up his life to save Gem, because their bond is so, like, deep. And so this leads me to believe that maybe Will gave up his normal life to become a silent brother in order to get the cure for Gem. The reason that leads me to conclude that Will is Brother Zachariah is because he really, like, pities the Herondale family. Like, he really feels a connection towards them, as we read in The Moral Instruments, and he would do anything to help them. So that sort of makes sense that he would be Will. Also, that Brother Zachariah, he has black hair, and he has these handsome features from what they saw from him, like even with the hooded cloak on. So this sort of makes sense in that type of way that he would be Will. I guess, like, sort of conflict about this book, what happens to the character after the book's done. We all have these different scenarios, but they all can come together as one. So I think that those three scenarios are probably the best standing ones. I've gone on to different YouTube, seeing what they said and seeing if it compared to what I thought. I also went onto my Instagram, the Shadowhunters, and asked my followers what they thought it would be. And we all have somewhat the same type of perspective in that. And usually they're either team Tessa with Will or Tessa with Gem, Jessa and Wessa. So let's see which one she ends up with. In my personal opinion, I don't know. I don't know. Cassandra Clare really did a good job on hiding the fact of who she's going to end up with, because it could be either. We don't know yet. So I think that the three crackpot scenarios are going to be one of those are going to come true. I have a feeling about it. And that's what I love most about prequels. You can sort of fit the pieces together, and you can go back and find the hidden clues in the previous books, being like, oh, look at this. They're so connected. That's cool. So yeah, that's my crackpot scenario. I hope you liked it. Subscribe, comment, and thumbs up. Bye!